What is one rule that was implemented at your school or work that backfired horribly? High school took all the stall doors off the boys' bathroom because of graffiti or something, so I started pooping in the bathroom near the office. After a few times of the superintendent coming in while I was doing that, all the doors were put back on. My senior year of high school, we moved into a new school building across from a grocery store. The builders put up walls over the plumbing for water fountains by accident, so there was a huge increase in reusable water bottles, and the school put up a vending machine entirely full of water. Now, I suppose it's time to mention that this was in Washington State, where you can sell liquor in grocery stores along with anything else. So, some freshmen got the bright idea of stealing vodka from the store across the street, fill disposable water bottles with it, and then sell it to other students. This caused a huge problem with a large population of drunk underclassmen wandering the halls of the school and getting into trouble. Finally, the staff got together for a meeting about what to do. Someone suggested banning water bottles. So now students had no access to water during school hours, and everyone was enraged. There were articles written about it and parents complaining. People all over town were talking about how we had a ban on water. They eventually lifted the ban, and the vodka problem resumed. Talk about a clueless group of school staff who thinks that the problem is the water bottles, not the kids selling the vodka. It's almost like they were too afraid to actually confront the real problem. It seems like the schools have a habit of downplaying a lot of problems and hope they can just quietly fix something without anyone noticing. My suggestion would be to start at the root of the problem, which would be the kids stealing from the liquor store. Just a thought. When I was in kindergarten during the morning announcements one day, they came on and said, "And please do not throw snowballs. There is a chance you might accidentally get some rocks in them." You could see the faces of all 20-some students, the realization that, oh my God, we can put rocks in them. This was actually in the news a couple months ago. We had a really hot summer last year, and the boys at my little brother's secondary school were mad that they couldn't wear shorts, but the girls could wear skirts. The junior leadership team brought it up at a meeting, and the head teacher jokingly went, "All right, if the boys want to wear skirts, then let them." So a group of boys went to school wearing skirts the next day, and then it wasn't just a group of them. In my dorm, if you did something that triggered the smoke or fire alarm, you had to do a safety presentation for everyone on the floor. This was intended to deter pranksters from pulling the alarm. A guy on our floor was making grilled cheese in the kitchenette and burned it, which legitimately triggered the fire alarm. Afterwards, he explained, assuming that since it was a legitimate alarm and not a prank, that he wouldn't have to do a presentation. He was, of course, wrong. So the next Wednesday night, the entire floor assembled and we were treated to a 30-minute safety presentation on the dangers of grilled cheese sandwiches. It contained literally nothing about fire safety. It was all about choking hazards and cholesterol. Our RA was furious, but the student pointed out that the write-up that he'd been given just said safety presentation. We didn't get any more presentations after that. Yeah, I'm very curious what other material about the grilled cheese this guy put in his presentation. If it was me, I would have at least had 4 or 5 slides in there about the dangers of burning the roof of your mouth on a hot sandwich. Also, that RA is a perfect example of someone who takes their jobs way too seriously. Why should they care so much? A good RA would realize from the beginning that this policy is stupid and a waste of everyone's time. If you violated the dress code policy, you had to wear these really big gray sweatpants or sweatshirts that said DCV in big orange letters, which meant dress code violation. It became a thing to get caught because they were apparently really comfortable. When the admin finally caught on that people were trying to get them on purpose, they changed it so that you got in-school suspension. Joke's on them for that too, because lots of kids preferred that over being in class. A school in my area jacked up the cost of the parking pass. People protested by not buying the pass, and instead, they rode the bus. Funny thing is that the county really relies on juniors and seniors driving because they don't have enough buses for all the students. The parking pass fee dropped. People drove again, and don't ever let them tell you that driving to school is a privilege. They need you to drive to school. We got a new manager for our office. She was an outside hire and was trying to prove herself quickly, and she was obsessed with efficiency. So her first week, she sent out this very rudely worded email about employees eating at our desks. We have a very small break area, 4 tables, and we have about 300 employees. And that we all had to stop eating at our desks because, quote, it is not efficient to eat and try to work at the same time. Through a coordinated effort by some of the more sassy people in the office, they all had their lunches at the same time and filled the break room with about 90 people, elbow to elbow, and they all ate standing up. Literally, the next day after that happened, she sent out a follow-up email saying that we could eat at our desks, but she advised us to take a break from our work from time to time. It was pretty funny. The naivety of this manager to actually think that people wanted to eat at their desks so that they could get work done at the same time. No, lady, it might have something to do with the fact that people like to eat while sitting down. I know, shocking. And a desk and a chair is a good place to do that. I appreciate the creativity of the staff so quickly to make a point and show this lady that common sense prevails over efficiency. I went to a private school for elementary where uniforms were strict. If you didn't wear a belt, you'd go to the principal's office and he would make you use a shoestring. Well, when he opened the drawer, there were like 6 different colors and everybody thought it was really neat. So for a short period of time, there were a bunch of kids coming to school with no belt so that they could wear their lime green shoestring belt. Zero tolerance, which means if you are involved with fighting, you will be kicked out. No questions asked. They think it would mean no more fighting. Nope. It means if the bully is beating up a kid, no one would step in for fear of getting involved with the fight and getting kicked out. No one would snitch because it means the bully will target you next, and now you're involved in fighting and get kicked out. It is a terrible policy. If you had 4 tardies in a semester, including first or 0 hour, you would receive a Saturday morning detention. I had accumulated 3 tardies during a semester of my sophomore year because my ride would be a few minutes late. I proceeded to just skip school anytime my ride or myself would be late, and eventually a vice principal noticed my absences. Naturally, he asked why I was missing so many days of class. I explained to him that I wasn't going to get detention for going to school. His only recourse was to suggest that I try to be on time more often. It felt good to walk out of his office knowing that the conversation didn't go how he expected. You guys tell me, is this a thing that schools can do? Because when I was in high school, I had never heard of anyone being forced to come in on a Saturday. In the comments, did anyone else have that policy? I would imagine that especially getting a school staff member to come in on a Saturday to supervise the detention would be the hardest part. Like, what teacher is going to take one of their 2 days off from these little hellions to do that? My school banned all balls over a couple of inches in diameter because someone kicked a football through a window during lunch. Most of us that walked home walked past the woods by a golf course and had a ready supply of golf balls as a result. Golf balls were allowed under the new rules due to their size. 3 broken windows in 1 lunch period later, and they weren't. Our school made it so you couldn't play dodgeball anymore. So what happened was the gym teachers came up with this new game called Fireball. The rules are there are balls in the middle of the gym. People go on 2 separate teams, go for, and if you get hit, you're out. If you catch a ball, so it was basically dodgeball. Then, Fireball was banned. So now there's this new game called Pinball, which isn't involving the machines, but unfortunately, it's basically dodgeball/Fireball, but there's bowling pins that need to be knocked over as well. I think they just gave up after a while. My high school banned us from carrying book bags, but girls could carry giant purses. I suppose they were afraid of bombings or whatever. So this meant that we had to carry our books, etc., everywhere, which was annoying. Well, one of my friends became fed up and put his stuff in a box and carried that. It was technically within the guidelines, so it slid for a while. Well, the box began to break, so he takes a roll of duct tape and completely covers the box. This went on for several weeks, and eventually, the duct tape box began to give out, so he gets another box. Except he used that box to carry his old box in, and the new box eventually became taped as well. Eventually, individual teachers banned his box from their room, so he would leave it on top of the lockers because it didn't fit inside. The principal ended up seeing it whilst giving a tour to prospective students. Boxes were subsequently banned. Apparently, duct tape boxes look like bombs to would-be students and parents. This is the same guy who wore a skirt to school one day, and skirts are allowed under the dress code while shorts are banned. Yeah, there are so many different things that deserve a facepalm here. First, I love the logic that banning backpacks are going to prevent some sort of school bombing. So you're telling me that someone who wants to bomb a school is going to change their mind because it's against the rules to bring a backpack to school? Brilliant. That'll stop criminal psychopaths. Second, I'm also surprised more kids didn't go down the rabbit hole of what is considered a purse. Kids should pressure the school as much as possible to find what a purse is and I think the school would have a hard time defending their position. Well, it wasn't a school-wide policy, but I had a super annoying French teacher who would constantly hand out detentions for things as inconsequential as walking to the trash can to throw away a piece of paper. She absolutely could not deal with the fact that we periodically might need to actually leave our chairs for a perfectly valid reason. One day, she locked herself out of the classroom and nobody would let her back in. Sorry, we're not allowed to get out of our seats, so she had to get the janitor. Not my school, but next to mine, started locking the back door so people wouldn't go out and smoke during breaks between classes. The day they implemented this, 6 people jumped out of the window on the ground floor by second period. Stepping into the restroom was like walking into a cloud, and there was an emergency session of the student council. And within a few days, everyone owned a vape.